Welcome to HOA Disasters, the channel where we expose the outrageous, the absurd, and the downright unbelievable stories from neighborhood hell. I'm Nick, and if you've ever dealt with an HOA that went too far, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because trust me, these stories only get crazier. Now let's get to this story where an HOA says I can't park my work truck in my driveway and told me to sell it or it's theirs. What I did next made national headlines. The sun was barely up. It was that time of morning when the sky starts to get lighter but the birds are not singing yet. Jason Carter was already getting ready for work. He was an HVAC man and he had a long day ahead of him, 12 hours at least probably. He had to fix air conditioners and heaters all over town. It was hard work but he liked it. He liked helping people and he liked being his own boss. He walked out to his truck. It was a big Ford F-250. It was white and it had his company logo on the side. Carter's Cooling and Heating, it said in big blue letters. The truck was his pride and joy. It was how he made a living. As he got closer, he saw something under the windshield wiper. It was a piece of paper. He frowned and pulled it out. It was a printed notice. He read it slowly. Per HOA Regulation 14B, commercial vehicles may not be stored in driveways. You have 7 days to remove or sell the vehicle or it becomes property of the HOA via lien enforcement. Jason was stunned. What? He owned the house, he paid his taxes, the truck was registered and insured, it was parked in his own driveway. What right did the HOA have to tell him what to do? He read the letter again. He could not believe it. They were telling him to get rid of his truck or they would take it. They would put a lien on his house. That meant they could take his house if he did not do what they said. He looked around. Everything seemed normal. The other houses on the street looked the same. The grass was green, the trees were still, but now everything felt different. He felt like he was in a bad dream. He crumpled the letter in his hand. He felt angry and scared. He did not know what to do. This could not be real. He thought it was a joke. It was. Jason was a single dad. He had a daughter named Lily. She was 8 years old and she was the most important thing in his life. He had started his HVAC business from nothing. He worked hard, very hard. He saved every penny. He built it up over the years. It was not easy, but he did it. He was proud of what he had made. The truck was a big part of his business. It was how he got to his jobs. It was how he carried his tools and equipment. It had his company logo on it so people knew who he was. It was like a moving billboard. The truck was a Ford F-250. It was not new, but it was reliable. He kept it clean and well-maintained. It had a business wrap on it. That meant it had his company name and phone number on the sides. It was legally parked. It was not leaking oil. It was not blocking anyone's driveway. Lily sometimes rode with him after school. She would do her homework in the passenger seat while he handled calls. She liked to help him organize his tools. She thought it was fun. He liked having her with him. The HOA rules were vague. He had read them when he bought the house, but he did not remember anything about commercial vehicles, and even if there was a rule, it had never been enforced before. This all came out of nowhere. It did not make sense. If he lost that truck, he would lose his livelihood. It was simple as that. He would not be able to work. He would not be able to pay his bills. He would not be able to support Lily. It was all on the line. He felt a knot in his stomach. Jason decided to go to the HOA meeting. He wanted to talk to them. He wanted to explain his situation. He wanted to find a solution. He walked into the meeting room. It was a small room with a long table. There were a few people sitting around the table. They all looked serious. He recognized a few of them from the neighborhood. He introduced himself. He said he was Jason Carter and he lived at 183 Maple Street. He said he had received a letter about his truck. He was then introduced to Linda Delray. She was the board president. She was a tall woman with short blonde hair. She wore a business suit. She looked down her nose at him. She was the main antagonist. Linda started talking in a condescending tone. She waved around the rule book. She pointed to the section about commercial vehicles. She said his truck was an eyesore. She said it was against the rules. The other board members looked embarrassed. They did not say anything. They just sat there and listened. They did not want to get involved. You're a contractor, Linda said. Park it at your job sites. Jason tried to explain that he did not always have a job site to park at. Sometimes he had to go to the supply store. Sometimes he had to go home to get more tools. Sometimes he had to pick up Lily from school. What if my job site is here? Jason asked. He pointed to his house. He was trying to keep his voice calm, but he was getting angry. Linda just shrugged. She did not care. She was not listening to him. She had already made up her mind. The meeting ended. Jason felt defeated. He had not accomplished anything. He felt like he was talking to a brick wall. He did not know what to do next. Jason had 6 days left, 6 days to get rid of his truck or the HOA would take it. He felt like he was in a race against time. He called a lawyer. The lawyer said it was a complicated situation. He said HOA rules were hard to fight. He said it would cost a lot of money. Jason did not have a lot of money. He tried parking his truck down the road. He thought he could get away with it, but he got a ticket for violating street parking ordinances. The city said he could not park a commercial vehicle on the street overnight. Lily asked him, "Are we going to have to move?" She was scared. She did not want to leave her friends. She did not want to change schools. He did not know what to tell her. He did not want to scare her, but he did not want to lie to her either. He just hugged her and said everything would be okay. He was caught in a trap. The HOA rules were on one side. The city laws were on the other. He had nowhere to turn. A neighbor quietly warned him, "You're not the first one they've done this to." The neighbor did not want to get involved, he just wanted to give Jason a heads up. He knew the HOA was trouble. Jason decided to investigate. He wanted to find out why the HOA was doing this. He wanted to know if there was something else going on. He started talking to his neighbors. He asked them if they had ever had problems with the HOA. He was surprised by what he found out. He learned that 2 other families had been fined or intimidated over work vehicles. One guy had to sell his landscaping truck. Another had his van towed. They were both small business owners. He found out that the HOA had quietly amended the rules 6 months ago. They had added the section about commercial vehicles. They had not had a public vote. They had just done it without telling anyone. Jason pulled the HOA records. He wanted to see how the rule change had been approved. He found out that the rule change had been pushed through by Linda and a proxy vote from 3 absentee owners. That meant Linda had gotten 3 other people to vote for her without them even being there. He realized that they were not enforcing the rules. They were targeting the people they did not like. They were picking on small business owners. They were using the HOA rules to get rid of them. They weren't enforcing the rules, they were targeting the people they didn't like. It was day 3. Jason woke up to find a tow truck idling near his driveway. He could not believe it. They were really going to do it. They were going to tow his truck. The HOA had placed a private tow order. That meant they had hired a tow truck company to come and take his truck. It was not city approved. The city did not know anything about it. Jason confronted the driver. He asked him what he was doing. The driver said, "They told me it was an abandoned commercial vehicle." Jason was furious. His truck was not abandoned. It was his work truck. It was parked in his driveway. He was using it every day. He called the police. He wanted them to stop the tow truck, but the officer said it was a civil matter. He said he could not intervene. He said it was between Jason and the HOA. Jason started recording everything with his phone. He wanted to have proof of what was happening. He started uploading clips online to TikTok and Facebook. He wanted people to know what the HOA was doing. Jason's video went viral. It hit 3 million views on TikTok and Facebook. People were sharing it and commenting on it. They were outraged. Comments poured in from other homeowners with similar HOA horror stories. People were saying that HOAs were out of control. They were saying that HOAs were abusing their power. The local news picked up the story. They ran a segment on the evening news. "Dad told to sell his truck or forfeit it to HOA," the headline said. The HOA called an emergency meeting. They suspended the towing action, but they did not suspend the rule. They were still saying that Jason had to get rid of his truck. Jason received a cease and desist letter. The HOA was accusing him of defamation. They were saying that he was lying about them, so now I'm not just a rule breaker, I'm a threat. A neighbor tipped him off. The neighbor said that Linda's son was starting a home services business. The business included HVAC. That meant he would be competing with Jason. Jason connected the dots. Linda wanted to eliminate the competition. She was using the HOA rules to clear the way for her son's company to dominate the neighborhood. The HOA rules were being weaponized. They were being used to hurt small business owners. They were being used to benefit Linda's family. This isn't about my truck. It's about control and money. Jason decided to organize a public protest. He called it Small Business Rights Matter. He wanted to show the HOA that he was not alone. He wanted to show them that people supported him. Truckers, contractors, landscapers, and other small business owners showed up. They parked up and down the street in solidarity. They were all there to support Jason. The local media returned. News vans were everywhere. They were filming the protest. They were interviewing Jason and the other protesters. Drones were flying overhead. Linda tried to call the police. She wanted them to shut down the protest, but the police refused to intervene. They said it was a peaceful assembly on public roads. Jason gave a speech. He said, "I work for a living. I pay my mortgage. This is America." He was fighting for his rights. He was fighting for the rights of all small business owners. He also filed a formal complaint to the state HOA regulatory board. He wanted them to investigate the HOA's actions. He wanted them to hold the HOA accountable. The HOA hit back with $5,000 in accumulated fines. They were trying to punish Jason for speaking out. They were trying to silence him. Jason received a lien warning. His home was technically at risk. The HOA was threatening to take his house, but the state started investigating the HOA's actions. They found multiple violations. They found improper voting. They found failure to notify homeowners. They found illegal enforcement tactics. A whistleblower HOA member resigned. The member was disgusted by what the HOA was doing. The member contacted Jason. They forged a vote. The regulatory board issued an injunction against the HOA's enforcement of the truck rule. The rule was suspended. Jason could keep his truck. Senate unanimously passed Bill 1203, which was subsequently signed into law by the governor effective July 1, 2024. Subpart 720, 3075-3B of the law dictates that HOAs may not restrict the ownership or parking of a non-commercial pickup truck in a resident's driveway. Linda was found to have falsified proxy votes. She had cheated. She had broken the law. The HOA was fined $50,000. They had to pay for their wrongdoing. Linda resigned from the board. She was disgraced, her reputation was ruined, her son's business license was suspended for conflict of interest and unethical practices. He was punished for his mother's actions. National media picked up the story. Jason was invited to speak on Fox Business and local radio, how one truck shut down a corrupt HOA. He became a symbol of resistance against overreaching HOAs. Jason ended with a shot of his truck parked in the same driveway, American flag waving above. He had won, he had kept his truck, he had defeated the HOA, he installed a small sign on the side, "This truck beat the HOA." He was proud of what he had accomplished. A neighbor walks by and claps him on the back. "You didn't just win for you, you won for all of us. They wanted to take my livelihood, instead they gave me a platform."